Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh, everybody. Sorry about that. I was a little premature on the feed. Thank you, Sister Tana, for putting up that overlay. Of course, that was Imam W.D. Muhammad, leader of the Imam W.D. Muhammad community, son of Sister Clara Muhammad and Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I thought this was a really auspicious day. This is the day we celebrate the 12th year, the 12th or 13th, the 13th year since he returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I thought this would be appropriate for Throwback Thursday. Quick note, there was a flash, if you will, a problem with Facebook. So some of our people may be coming on, they may be coming on later. I'm going to ask you guys to give me a little bit of pause, if you will, as I try and bring folks over so they can watch the show. Listen, the idea of Imam W.D. Muhammad is a larger idea in the context of not just Black religion, Black theology, if you will. It was an engagement process. And when I say an engagement process, I mean the ability to look beyond so many things that have happened beforehand. You know, one of his things that I always thought was really impressive was his stance on race and racism, how people use racism and classism to, in many regards, denigrate the whole idea of God and equality. Some of the things I'm going to talk about today are not clearly total reflections of what he's saying. Of course, they're not. He was older than I am. He came up in another generation. But I think it's important to be able to take some of those things and talk about them a little bit of a broader purview, if you will. Understanding that, you know, as you turn out students that have to deal with new crises, new situations, new scenarios. Correct? So I believe that today would be a great day to not just talk about. I don't talk about his passing. That's done. Number one, number two, we're all going to leave here. But I thought it's important to talk about some of the ideas that he was propagating years ago. You know, I just watched the documentary on Netflix, Blood Brothers. What was interesting about Blood Brothers, brothers and sisters, was the fact that in some regards, you know, he was left out of history. That they finished the documentary basically in 1975, of course, when Elijah Muhammad passes, but it leaves a huge void in terms of what was the movement after he passed? What was the historical context for Islam and African American after he passed? And even more importantly, not just Islam and the Black Muslim, but also the African American community, because this is the thing whereby it becomes a much more difficult mission, if you will, because, and I say this with the height of the most respect in the world to my brothers and sisters, he brings about the idea that we cannot sit and try to compare ourselves to a white system, white supremacy. It's a flawed system. We know it's a flawed system. Why would you compare and put your energies against a flawed system? If you want to compare yourself, if you will, if you want to challenge yourself, or look at environments whereby you want to, for lack of a better word, compete, you want to find better environments, he said you have to look beyond that. In America, the African American, because of the adversarial relationship we've had through slavery, Jim Crow, all these things, we find ourselves measuring up to whiteness, and it doesn't work. He was one of the few people, one of the first people, and Malcolm X even echoed this. He was like, you've got to compare yourself with the rest of humanity. And we can't isolate ourselves in these little pockets of this person over here, this person over here. I mean, that's where we are now as America, as a country. We have people who operate in these little pockets and they compare themselves to little pockets over there. We're much bigger people. The idea of blackness, the idea of Islam, the idea of Black Christianity is much bigger than what's been presented in terms of having a conversation with white America about its own status quo, about its own inequities and inefficiencies. So we're going to go back. We're going to get the show started. Bear with me, brothers and sisters. I have to get one thing done. I will be right back. Thank you guys for coming on the show. Let me give some special shout outs. We still got some singing shout outs. Sister Nancy Mustafa. Haven't heard from you. Hope you're doing well. Also, big shout out to Sister Eleanor, who just returned from the hospital. She didn't even want to tell us she went to the hospital, but she's home now. She's feeling better. Sister Lorraine, Brother Kendrick. You know, we have a lot of people that we are shouting out. If you have anyone that's sick or not feeling well, please let us go. Let us know, and we will definitely shout them out. Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let's get started.
Terifay Atar. The Scent of Enlightenment. A gentle reminder that air, water, and fire indeed are life-giving essences. Appreciate the intersection of time and luxury. Magnify your essence. Terifay Atar.
That first step is to see your human identity. Allah shows us the human identity in Adam. Was Adam a Muslim? To be a true human is the first step in being a Muslim. Adam was a Muslim. He didn't belong to some other religion. He was a Muslim. He had the Muslim nature. He didn't have the Muslim system. The Muslim system of religion came with Prophet Muhammad. He had the Muslim nature. And for that reason, the learned imams, the learned scholars, the ulama, members of the ulama, they tell us that all of us are Muslims in our nature. And they make such statements based on the Quran, the Holy Book, and based on the Sunnah of the Prophet and their interpretation and understanding of it, fiqh. Huh? Yes. They say all of us are Muslims in our nature. And do you know what I'm hearing from many Muslims abroad now? I used to hear it from just one or two, but now I'm getting it from many. I just heard it. I've heard it first from Jordanian, and I heard it then next from an Indian, a Pakistani, and then I heard it from an Egyptian. Lately, I heard it from an Iranian. You know what they're saying? That in spite of the condition of the African American people, they are the people on earth today that are closest to their natural Muslim identity. You are not in the system of Islam that Allah revealed and established. No. But you in your human makeup, you are closer to the real Muslim in his nature than most of the people on earth today. Now that's hard to see looking at the condition of the majority of our people. But when you come to know them personally, you can see it. Because when they get the pressure of the fast, burdensome world off their back, oh, they say, no, you sleep in my bed. You don't have anywhere to stay tonight? Sleep in my bed. Huh? You don't have no food here? Come here. Say, honey, you ain't got no food. Take some of our butter. Take some of our flour. Huh? You want my wife to fix your dinner? How you gonna go home? Oh, wait. I'll take you home. Huh? And we had that kind of sense before Elijah Muhammad. Now, he must have had it before me. Yes. No kin to the family at all. But see a child destroy himself? Child, you shouldn't behave like that. Who's your mother? Where you live? I've heard that from our women. Who's your mother? Where you live? If I knew, I would tell on you. You shouldn't be behaving like that.
Brothers and sisters, I am going to get into this thing about my dear teacher, Imam W.D. Muhammad. I'm going to take some liberties, if you will. But first, let me go ahead and introduce people to the show. My Shout Out Show family, the loyal Shout Out Show family. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you, brothers and sisters, that hang with me. So let's go ahead and get them out here. Sister Ree, we got, of course, we got Sister Ree coming in on the shop. What's going on, Sister Ree? Hope you're doing well. Hope you are rested up and you are ready for, of course, you are ready for your trip upcoming to recuperate. We're so proud of you, the couple weeks that you put in. I was just telling brother today about your entrepreneurial pursuits and the willingness to go out and try something new, try something different, try to, as the Imam says, you have to act upon your nature. You can have a nature, you can have a business nature, but you got to act upon that nature. So congratulations. Next up, we got my little brother, Johnny L. Thomas. What's going on, brother? Little brother, man. Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys something. Speaking of that nature, my brother, JT, is not Muslim, but he has that nature. The only fight I think we ever had was over who paid the check. It's a big thing about who pays the check. I'm trying to get a blessing, he's trying to get a blessing. I don't want my little brother to pay for it, and he's like, I don't want my older brother to pay for it. And I'm gonna tie that in to our talk. Also, shout out to my main man, Altaf Rashid. What's going on, beloved? Our Canadian ambassador, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. Altaf always gives he imparts some wisdoms. He shares some thoughts with us. If you guys have any comments during the course of this show, please share them. Please share them. And I'm going to tell you why, because I've been in a situation where at times I've sat in rooms and had to defend Imam W.D. Muhammad from people, and I've had to tell them why not so much they were wrong, but that they were misinformed. That they were misinformed not only about him, but the whole aspect and energy of the African American Muslim community and experience. And I said African American Muslim, but it's African American and African American Muslim community. People tend to run all of those together, not understand that each one of those has a specific identity. And Islamists are in both of those identities. Ataf, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for coming on the show. Next up, we got Mary Moss, who stood me up on the phone today because she had to wash her hair. I told you I was coming back in 10 minutes. Why are you going to wash your hair in 10 minutes? I told you I was coming back. But whatever. You had to do what you had to do. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you so much for letting me know about Sister Eleanor. Again, Sister Eleanor was in the hospital, brothers and sisters. So we make sure that she's getting some du'as coming our way. Sister Reed, you are more than welcome. Anything we can do for you, your family, we're always going to try and make it happen for you. Okay, so let's get to this thing. And I want to give a shout out to our consultant producer. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Satana. Yes, yes. May Allah be pleased with him, Imam W.D. Muhammad. Many of you have heard the story of Allah Made Me Funny, how Allah Made Me Funny came to be. Allah Made Me Funny really was a project. It was an interfaith project using comedy, but framing it as religious work. I just finished my thesis earlier this year, and it included some of the small conversations that were had with Imam W.D. Muhammad. And I want to frame out that you have to understand how people work in spaces and times in history. Let me say that again, how people work in spaces and times in history. Now, my mom will probably remember this. Some of you will, some of you won't. Sister Sultana, you might remember. You might remember it as well. I first read about Imam W.D. Muhammad in 1973. And this was the fuller exposure to Muslims at a young age. I was not Muslim. I just said 73. So I'm all of about 7 years old, maybe 6 or 7 years old. And you would see things on TV. We had a situation, as really the first case and probably the only case of Muslim on Muslim crime in the African American community. It was the Hanafi massacre that happened in 1973 with the nation of people from the Nation of Islam, allegedly from Nation of Islam, came down looking for this Hanafi leader. They did not, and summarily murdered quite a few number of people in the house. And then later on, the survivor, if you will, he took several people hostage. I remember this because Marion Barry got shot as a result, and another man that worked in that building was killed. And he took hostages. When they asked for people to mediate, I don't know why I'm looking up. Sorry, it's not. When they asked for people to mediate, they requested three people. The kidnapper wanted three things. He wanted Muhammad Ali to come. He wanted the people that murdered Malcolm X and his family, and he asked for Imam W.D. Muhammad. There's a book that's supposed to come out pretty soon about the Hanafi massacre, brothers and sisters. But the idea was that Imam W.D. Muhammad, during that time, this is before the transition, during that time, he goes and he's requested in this situation. And what is really interesting, because of course his father is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. What does that say, brothers and sisters? That it's 73 and it's happening. It's saying that this man has knowledge that Imam W.D. Muhammad is, in his own way, propagating what we call Sunni Islam, even though it's in the house of the Nation of Islam. And when I think about that, brothers and sisters, there's a long line of connectivity that sometimes we just don't make. That we don't really fully investigate, fully engage in terms of what's our history. The clip that I showed you was really to talk about our history, because we can be short-sighted thinking that our history is tied to someone else's ambivalence, tied to somebody else's perceptions of us. And he did away with that in a very smart and surgical way. He said, we're not going to become a slave to our own cultural impulses, if you will. So while Muslims came out of the uniforms, they didn't go to, shalwar kameezes and da-da-da. He didn't do that. And I always was wondering why. And the issue is that when you are in a situation, or you're a proponent of service, if you will, you're a proponent of service, that in your space you have to be as effective as you can. As effective as you can. And it's not that people are going to reject you for what you look like. They're more going to reject you because you're trying to bring them something different. You're trying to bring them something new. You're trying to bring them something that it's like a child. When a child is sick, you have to give them medicine, and that medicine is nasty. And you can tell the child how good it is for them, but they're going to say, no, you'll fight them tooth and nail. And you're going to say, man, okay, well, I got to give you this medicine. So do you want an apple? You want an orange? Yeah, well, you got to take this. And there's a balance. What I found, brothers and sisters, It's two things about Imam W.D. Muhammad. While he left us 13 years ago, it seemed like he was about 26 to 27 years ahead of his time. That's number one. Number two, he was kind enough to leave breadcrumbs for how we are supposed to frame ourselves, particularly in the African American community, but also how we deal with the world. Let me explain. I often have said things about our communities. Our communities are shrinking, if you will. That's a known fact. We're getting smaller, we're getting older, we don't have youth. But does that sound familiar? That our population is reducing. Nonetheless, the mission that we have still gives us relevance in everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. We may go into different communities, but if you have the tag of Muslim, African American Muslim, whether it's the NOI, whether it's Sunni Muslim, whether it's Salafi, if there is a Black attached to it, you have relevance. In the Black community, if you put Black in terms of Christian, you still have a scope of relevance that people are going to react to. When you think of the history of Islam, and I would love for somebody to do some research on it, when you think about the history of Islam in this country, he was ahead of everybody. Because while they were in the Nation of Islam, people remember that he was put out of the Nation of Islam for several reasons, several times, because he was pushing his father like this is not Islam. That's a social program. This is the religion. He was put out, he was let back in, he was put out, he was let back in. When he was put back in and his father passes away, it's unanimous that he's going to lead these people forward. And what I really appreciate, brothers and sisters, is in prophetic tradition of all the prophets, peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad, all the way back to Adam, is that he frames an argument for what is your human nature. What is the framework of your human nature? Which means, as I'm a Muslim, I advocate for Muslim. I can't be a real Muslim if I don't advocate for the humanity around me. I just can't feed Muslims, brothers and sisters. I have to feed the other people who are around the Muslims. Why? While they may have engaged the machine of Islamic understanding and practice, that nature, in some regards, I want to say, it makes me liable. Not liable, I'm sorry, but it makes me responsible. I am culpable for my brothers having growth and development and things like that. I never thought about that when I was younger. I was angry. I looked at white people as oppressors and things like that. I'm being honest. And that's not to say they weren't oppressors. But the thing that changed me, brothers and sisters, is that I can look at the oppressor's child and still delineate that that child has no ill will towards me, that the child's nature is still intact. And as we move away from the whole aspect of our own human nature and the excellent positioning of our nature, if you will, our natural self, our natural born self, it becomes a lot clearer. Now, we talk about religion, but we don't really talk enough about the power of religion. If we were to think back and go back, and this is me talking for me. We don't need to go into any textbooks, okay? I'm just speaking from the heart. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Brother Eric. Thank you for joining the show. Hope you're having a good one. The idea of Imam W.D. Muhammad is that he's not an anthropologist. He's not an anthropologist. He's not a person who's engaging in science. And I realized he didn't have to engage in science. You can literally put the pieces together in terms of the development of the African American here in the United States. There's no traditional or empirical data that says that Africans that were brought here from Africa, if you will, from West Africa, came here with the religion of Christianity. They didn't come here with the religion of Christianity. The idea of a Trinity was not something that they brought to these shores. And they brought other African religions, but they didn't bring that one. The majority of them brought Islam to the chat. And here's the most beautiful thing. The religion of Christianity is put upon them. They take that religion, turn it around, and make it something that works for them in a survival narrative. That this is the thing you need to do to survive. Islam we can go through all the things. Islam did what it was supposed to do. Wherever it was, it took on the characteristics of where it was. For Muslims, even the mixed Christianity, it took on the mix of Christianity because it gave them an anchor to understand that this is your human nature, despite the fact that you're in slavery, despite the fact that you're oppressed. I'm going to put something in you that nobody can take. And you can even find it in the Bible because it has meaning in the Bible. Till you receive a Quran, but the Quran was received before the Bible in most cases. And this meshing, if you will, is amazing because you begin to understand, wait a minute, this is the power of Black church. This is the power of an amalgamation of faith, evolution, courage, and consistency. Nobody can boast that. And he is 100% right when he said in this thing that we're closer to our nature than people who come into the religion. We're close, despite everything that's going on around us, we are the ones that are closest to our religion. Check this out. As Muslims and even as Christians, African Americans are the ones that are closest to their religion. You know, they don't talk about in Christianity that Africans had to convert to Christianity. They don't like to say that because there's really no conversion process. But it would bring about the point that you have to understand that they have power over their religious choices. You know, in the Muslim community, it was really funny when you take, like I converted to Islam, and I used to sit and think about why people were so fascinated with people who convert to Islam. Why do you want to hear the stories about how I came to Islam? And watching his video today, I realized why. Because, for lack of a better word, going through the experiences we have, we didn't lose our nature. We didn't lose our nature. It could be made for the whole of African American existence. Despite everything, the majority of us never lost our nature. Now flip over to what you see. People who were in power, people who oppressed, people who claim closest to God had lost their damn minds. And they're nowhere near their nature. I missed the white people of 4 years ago. At least they were predictable. These white people are all over the place. And we can't laugh, brothers and sisters, because they're my Muslim brothers and sisters that were born in this religion somehow find a fundamental truth in what Donald Trump was saying. He was trying to save our country and make. And let me say this too. Donald Trump is a thief. I've been meaning to say this. Stop talking about make America great again. That's not your slogan. You're a biter. That's a Ronald Reagan slogan. And he put it out there and folks think it's something fresh. That's Ronald Reagan saying. All of us know that. But not all of us. But let me speak to this. I can't believe the time went this fast. To remember Imam W.D. Muhammad, I'm happy to say I didn't have a lot of conversations with him. I didn't. We didn't travel together. We didn't have ice cream. We didn't do any of that. The 2.5 conversations we had, I got dressed down on 2 of them, but they were about work. And he gave me something that wound up being Allah made me funny. And he said, this is to remind people that this tour should remind people of what our natural nature is, our human nature is. And I didn't get it. Sister Tom and I were talking about the need for intra-faith. That's why I said he was 20, 23 years ahead of his time. Because he was talking about this, brothers and sisters, in 2003. We still haven't gotten there yet. He did his work here on earth and Allah called him home. May Allah be pleased with him. But here's what I'm saying. And I'll bounce and I'll be brief. Why are we not investing in our own human nature? Why in 2021 are we still trying to fight and compare ourselves to people who don't know their nature, who may never know their nature? And if they were to actually get their nature, they might be afraid of it and cause all kind of chaos and Armageddon. Sometimes you have to let stupid people lie. You have to let sleeping dogs lie. Let sleeping stupid people lie too. It's the same thing. And I would say this. We have to learn to teach people about what this man was talking about. I watched the documentary. It's out. Check it out. It's called Blood Brothers. It is the relationship of Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali. It is a sad documentary because in the end, God spoke to them about the same thing. The same thing. And it comes to a tragic ending that they couldn't find the meaning at the same time. Malcolm's gone at 65. Muhammad Ali is gone years later, but he has to live with the reality that this is what the man was talking about. So when Malcolm broke and said, I'm not against any religion, he realizes that the world has a duty to fix the world's problems. It just can't be us protesting things. That he said the world has a fiduciary responsibility for fairness and justice, and he will pursue it. And I think we, brothers and sisters, get into this space where we got to stop trying to fix the world. Got to stop trying to fix the world. I'm saying to a friend of mine, listen, I'm tired of trying to fix white people. I'm tired of trying to fix people that want to do drugs. I'm tired of trying to fix bad politicians. I'm tired of trying to fix people that don't want to fix themselves. That don't want to correct themselves. And it becomes, brothers and sisters, that you got to be pragmatic. And when you stand up for something, you have to have a legitimate posturing about how you're going to do it, why you're going to do it, and then just do it. And furthermore, you ain't got to make an announcement. If you watch the rest of that video, he's not talking about making an announcement. He's talking about a model. And we have models. And in a prophetic tradition, from Adam to Abraham, to Moses, to Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, we have models of people who had the wherewithal, the intelligence, and the genius to recognize I have to work in the span of my own, human nature. So listen, prayers up to my main man. I can't call him. Can I call him my main man? I called him my main man before. Prayers up, of course, to Imam W.D. Muhammad. Let me be respectful. But I call him my main man because he wasn't, I'll be honest, he wasn't a fiery speaker. He wasn't a fiery speaker. He wasn't, he wasn't Malcolm, but he didn't try to be Malcolm. He was a worker, a very, very quiet and efficient worker. And so for that, I give thanks to Imam W.D. Muhammad and those who came before him and those he affected, not just in the Muslim community, but also in the outside of the Muslim community, because we're not talking enough about that work. So look, I'm going to get out of here. Hey, Mama Son, glad you made it. Love you. That's right, Mama Son. Appreciate you. Satana said she's exhausted. I'm tired of trying to. So this is a time to say, I'm tired. I'm tired too. So listen, everybody, this is my Throwback Thursday. If you want to know something about Imam W.D. Muhammad, if you're Muslim, then just read the Quran. Okay, just read the Quran. Okay, because he would never tell you, look at my example. He'd tell you, look at that example. Because his example is that example. That's number one. And number two is, brothers and sisters, reassert yourself in the context of what is your human nature, and stop trying to compare yourself with people who don't know their nature. They've lost their nature. Stop putting yourself in little boxes, trying to compare yourself with Joe Blow over here. The world is a big place, as it says in the Quran. It's wide in expanse. We are people who are wide in expanse. We need to go out here and get that done. Fight the Power Word. What's going on? Spokesperson for the human soul. Good to see you. So du'as up for Man W.D. Muhammad, brothers and sisters. And remember, he reminded me that you didn't have to have a big booming voice. You just had to have a big booming intellect, and everything else will follow. That's it for the show. You guys have been great. See you on Friday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.